Now, sending your child overseas for studies is a huge undertaking for a lot of parents. There's tuition fees to consider, daily expenses and dorms, or renting dorms as well, and big investment. It's a big investment on their child's future.
That's right. Now, some parents are also putting down money on a different kind of investment, real estate. But what are the real benefits of buying a property versus renting one? Joining us today for that discussion is Dr. Chua Yang Liang, Head of Research at Jones Lang LaSalle, Singapore. Good to have you here. Thank you so much for being here. Now, first off, what are the benefits or the pros and cons of, say, buying versus renting?
I think when we buy an asset, you're accumulating or you're preserving your wealth. Whereas if you're renting, you're largely paying, it's more like a consumption good. So for most parents or anyone else, when you buy an asset, you're looking at a capital appreciation in the mid to long term. Whereas if you're just leasing, largely just paying off, you're not accumulating any capital at all.
But we're talking about a finite period, right? This is your students in school for 4 years. And then what happens after? You buy it and then you just kind of have to deal with being a landlord?
You could, or you could dispose of it, and because, again, it depends very much on how long the kid's going to be in school. If, say, it's like a 4-year program or a 7-year program is the case in Australia, or you're doing a doctoral degree in some planning or even a medicine, you take about 7 years, then chances are you'll be moving through the cycle, the property cycle, averaging about 5 years, so you can ride that cycle. So you can hold it, you can dispose at the end of this child's education and get some capital returns.
It certainly gives you options. In your research, what percentage of parents are opting to buy versus rent?
Not that clear in terms of how they buy it for rental or for capital returns, but we've noticed that on average it's about a 15 to 25% increase year on year since 2013, where parents have bought properties for their kids to live in.
So it's a growing trend, and this is the way it's going at the moment. Okay, and is it more Asian parents you're noticing from this part of the world that are prone to doing that?
Yes, very much. I think that's on the back of very strong economic growth in Asia for the last 5-10 years. Indonesia, Singaporeans, Malaysians, increasingly Japanese, so they have gone into the market.
So is it the usual suspect markets, London, UK, US? I mean, are there any secret hidden places that they're investing, or is it all where these universities really are?
Exactly. I think that's where they offer very good education systems and structures. And so the London, the US, and Australia. In terms of pecking order, it will be London, and then Australia, and then increasingly now US. Not in terms of the credential education, but in terms of interest by foreign buyers like Asians.
Okay, well, Singapore as well is also quite, well regarded in terms of education. A lot of people come here for further education as well. Now, are we seeing a similar sort of trend? Are people parking their money here while their kids are studying, buying them apartments in Singapore?
Yes, anecdotally, and if you look at our demographic structure in the buyers' nationalities, we do see a fair number of Indonesians, Malaysians, as well as Chinese. So in terms of how many of them are buying for their kids, I'd say there's substantial of them who probably park their money here.
Now, I don't know if you have numbers or anything that would show how many people sort of tend to do this as a means of almost not really immigrating or migrating, but having a foothold in another country. Well, sometimes people when they study, they tend to stay on in the countries that they study in.
Well, again, there's no statistics on that, how many of them actually stay on as a result of purchase, but I'll say a substantial of them if you look at it.
So, do you think there are certain factors that people should look at when investing in this type of real estate? Is it any different from, say, another type of vacation property?
Certainly. I think when you look at property for any methods, vacation homes or inner city home, you need to do your sums right. The first thing you look at is don't over-leverage yourself. How are you going to raise funds? Do you have enough capital to tie you through? And secondly, it's really about the asset itself. Know the location. Especially for such properties you're buying likely to be near the university, look at the location. Is it well connected? Is there good accessibilities to transportation? Are there good amenities? Once you've selected that, you understand who are the developers. You should go for more established ones. Typically, they have a slight premium, but then again, the after-sales service are much better. And finally, of course, you need to know about the property asset management. It's about capital preservation. So the continual asset enhancements or retaining of your facade, management of your maintenance is very important for such assets overseas.
So does this sort of influx of funds going into these countries as parents are buying properties for their children to live in, that must contribute to the rising of house prices in those countries? Or is it quite a small percentage of the housing market?
Exactly. So if you look at the domestic market, this is quite a small proportion. I mean, in case of Singapore, there's been a lot of talk about, foreign buyers coming in, pushing prices. But then again, if you look at it, it's only fairly segmented in certain locations. So likewise in places like Australia, or London, or US, the domestic market is huge. So these investors are probably a little small.
A small percentage of that. Okay. I wanted to ask as well, when it comes, I mean, usually the university comes first before buying a property. I mean, they don't know where, students don't necessarily always know where they're going to be ending up for a university. Depends on their grades and so on, and who accepts them. How much planning tends to go into buying a property? Is it like wherever you're going to go to university, that's where we're going to buy a home? Or is it like try and go here because you want to buy a property there?
Where the chicken and egg?
Which one comes first? I would imagine it must be where you can get accepted into university, and then that dictates it.
I guess it depends whether you have a tiger mum or not.
Yeah.
But chances are you're going to look at where the child is studying, and you probably need quite some time to do your research, on the market research, understand the assets, like I said, the location, the amenities, and then who are the developers, are they reliable, and then the asset management. So you do need some leeway or some lead time before actual purchasing. So perhaps the kid might just rent in the meantime until a suitable time, and then move him into a
I have to say, some of the, isn't it true that some of the markets that these schools are in are already very competitively priced? You know, if you're talking about, say, New York or a lot of Boston, where a lot of these maybe Ivy League universities are, as well as London, where all the major universities are. So are they already kind of priced out? Is there any kind of way to buy in without overspending? Because a lot of these markets are pretty high priced. So
yeah, again, it depends on the individual buyers and in terms of how long the kid's going to be there. Are they priced out? I would say that the prices there in most of these places, say in New York, Columbia, or Philadelphia, where Penn is, prices have moved up since 2000. But then again, if you look at mid to long term, and how long is the kid's going to be there, are you going to pay the rent? The rent is just wasting your capital away, or do you want to accumulate wealth? Or wealth preservation in that sense. So you put your capital in, your chances are the value is going to retain at least over time.
Just to quickly get your feel, what sort of properties are people buying? Are they like one-bedroom apartments, two-bedroom apartments, townhouses, like terraced houses?
The apartments are more popular among Asian buyers, again, because of the structure come from, the societal structure we come in. But we prefer more apartments, and then again, from the asset perspective, apartments and condominiums tend to fare better. There's amenities in there, there's gated, there's security, and that's what some of the Asian parents look for.
Okay, well, thank you so much for coming in and speaking with us this morning. Dr. Chua Yang Liang from Jones Lang LaSalle with tips for parents who may be considering buying homes for their children, very lucky children to be going abroad, and as well get a home.
Or maybe for investors who may be interested in making some money. You know, I do own some college properties.
Really?
Yes, but we didn't get into that. We'll talk about that another day.
Yes.